Welcome. Learning English with Bible stories helps you grow twice as much in understanding and wisdom. Listen to these stories as many times as you need to understand, learn, and remember. Adults can use this tool too. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any lessons. Chapter 1: God's Plan. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, people were not being good. They were doing things that made God very sad. The world was full of bad things, and people were not kind to each other. God saw all the bad things happening and felt very sad because He loves His creation. God decided to start again. He wanted to make the world a better place. But there was one man who was different. His name was Noah. Noah was a good man who loved God and always tried to do the right thing. Noah was kind to his family and to everyone around him. He listened to God and followed His ways. God chose Noah for a very special job. He told Noah about his plan to send a big flood to clean the earth from all the bad things. God said, "Noah, I want you to build a big boat called an ark. This ark will keep you, your family, and many animals safe during the flood." Noah was surprised, but he trusted God. He knew that if God was telling him to do something, it was important. God gave Noah specific instructions on how to build the ark. It had to be very big, strong, and waterproof. God told Noah exactly how long, how wide, and how tall the ark should be. Noah gathered his family and told them about God's plan. They all agreed to help because they trusted Noah and believed in God's words. They worked together every day, cutting wood, hammering nails, and making the ark just as God had instructed. It was hard work, but they didn't give up. While Noah and his family were busy building the ark, people in the town would come by and laugh at them. They didn't believe Noah's story about the flood. They thought Noah was foolish for building such a big boat when there was no water around. But Noah didn't let their laughter stop him. He kept on working because he knew he was doing what God wanted. Noah's faith in God gave him the strength to continue, even when it was difficult. He knew that God's plans are always good, and he wanted to be ready for when the time came. Noah wanted to make sure his family and the animals would be safe. And so, day by day, the ark grew bigger and stronger, ready to face the great flood that God had promised. Noah trusted God with all his heart, and he knew that God would take care of them. That's the story of how Noah began his big, important task. It teaches us to listen to God, trust Him, and do what is right, even when others don't understand. Chapter 2: Building the Ark. Noah listened to God and began the enormous task of building the ark. It was a huge project, but Noah trusted that God would help him. Noah and his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, worked together every day. They had to find the right kind of wood, called gopher wood, and they had to cut it into the right shapes and sizes. They used hammers, saws, and other tools to build the ark. It was hard work, but they never gave up. They made the ark very big, just like God told them. It was as long as 1.5 football fields, 3 stories high, and very wide. They built many rooms inside for the animals and stored lots of food for everyone to eat. As they worked, the people around them kept laughing. They pointed and said, "What are you doing, Noah? Why are you building such a big boat? There's no water around here." But Noah didn't let their laughter bother him. He remembered what God had said and kept on working. Noah and his family worked for many years. They made sure the ark was strong and safe. They covered it inside and out with a special kind of pitch to keep the water out. This made the ark waterproof, so no water could get in during the big flood. Noah's wife and his sons' wives helped too. They gathered food for all the animals and stored it in the ark. They collected hay for the cows and horses, seeds and nuts for the birds, and meat for the lions and tigers. They wanted to make sure every animal had enough to eat during the long time they would be on the ark. Every day, Noah prayed to God for strength and guidance. He thanked God for helping them and asked for continued help to finish the ark. Noah knew that God was with them, guiding their hands and giving them the energy they needed. The ark slowly took shape. It had a big door on the side where the animals could enter. It had windows for light and air. It had a roof to keep out the rain. Noah and his family were very careful to follow all of God's instructions. They knew that God's way was the best way. Finally, after many years of hard work, the ark was finished. It stood tall and strong, ready for the flood that God had promised. Noah looked at the ark and felt proud of the work they had done. He knew it was ready to protect his family and all the animals. Noah and his family gathered in front of the ark and thanked God for helping them. They knew the hardest part was yet to come, but they were ready. They had built the ark just as God had told them, and they trusted that God would keep them safe. Building the ark was a big job, but with God's help, Noah and his family did it. This part of the story shows us that when we listen to God and work hard, we can do great things, even when others don't understand. Chapter 3: Gathering the Animals. Once the ark was built, God gave Noah the next important task. God told Noah to gather animals, 2 of every kind, to come into the ark. These animals would be safe from the flood and help start life again after the waters went away. Noah called his family together and shared God's instructions. They all knew it would be a big job, but they were ready. Noah's sons and their wives spread out to find the animals. They went to the forests, the fields, and the mountains, calling out to the animals. And something amazing happened. The animals came to them. The lions came with their strong roars, the elephants with their big trunks, and the tiny ants in long lines. Birds of all colors flew down from the sky, and insects crawled out from the grass. Each animal came in pairs, just as God had said, 1 male and 1 female of every kind. The animals knew that Noah was there to help them. They came to him because God had told them to go to the ark. Even the wild animals were calm and gentle, because they were following God's plan. Noah and his family guided the animals into the ark, making sure each pair found its place. They carefully led the tall giraffes, making sure they had enough space to stretch their long necks. They found cozy spots for the rabbits and the squirrels. They created safe places for the lions and the tigers so they wouldn't frighten the other animals. Each animal had its own space, just right for its needs. Noah's wife and his sons' wives brought food and water for the animals. They made sure there was plenty of hay for the horses and cows, seeds for the birds, and fresh leaves for the giraffes. They filled the ark with everything the animals would need to stay healthy and happy. As more and more animals arrived, the ark became a lively place. There were sounds of chirping birds, roaring lions, and trumpeting elephants. Noah and his family worked together to keep everything organized. They knew the animals were depending on them. The animals came 2 by 2, just as God had commanded. Noah's family helped a pair of turtles find their way into the ark and guided a pair of eagles to their perch. They welcomed the sheep and the goats, the zebras and the kangaroos. Each pair was special and important to God's plan. Noah also welcomed 7 pairs of clean animals, which were animals God considered special. These included sheep and cows. God had a special purpose for these animals, and Noah made sure they had a good place in the ark. Finally, when all the animals were safely inside, Noah and his family made sure everything was ready. They checked the food supplies, made sure the animals were comfortable, and prayed together, thanking God for guiding them. Noah looked around the ark and saw the many different animals, each one part of God's amazing creation. He knew they were ready for the journey ahead. With all the animals safe inside, Noah felt peace. He trusted that God's plan was good and that they were all in God's hands. Gathering the animals was a big job, but Noah and his family did it with God's help. This part of the story shows us that when we follow God's instructions, amazing things can happen. Even the animals listened to God and came to Noah, showing us that God's plan includes all of his creation. Chapter 4: The Great Flood. The sky turned dark and the clouds gathered. The time had come for the great flood that God had promised. Noah, his family, and all the animals were safely inside the ark, just as God had instructed. It started with a light rain. Pitter-patter, the raindrops fell softly at first. But soon, the rain grew stronger and stronger. The drops became heavier, and the wind began to howl. The rain poured down from the sky like never before. The ground soaked up the water quickly, but there was so much rain that the ground couldn't hold it all. Streams turned into rivers, rivers overflowed their banks, and soon the water covered everything. The rain continued to pour for 40 days and 40 nights. The world outside the ark was now a vast sea of water. Inside the ark, Noah and his family stayed safe and dry. They listened to the sound of the rain pounding on the roof and felt the ark gently rocking on the rising water. They knew God was with them, keeping them safe through the storm. Noah checked on the animals every day. He made sure they were comfortable and had enough to eat. He and his family took turns feeding the animals, cleaning their spaces, and making sure everyone was okay. They cared for the lions and the lambs, the eagles and the doves, treating each animal with kindness and love. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into more than a month. The rain never stopped. It was a long time to be inside the ark, but Noah and his family were patient. They prayed together, sang songs, and told stories to pass the time. They reminded each other that God was in control and that the rain would stop when God was ready. Outside, the water covered the highest mountains. Everything was under water, just as God had said it would be. There was no land in sight. But inside the ark, there was hope. Noah and his family trusted that God would bring them through the storm. After 40 days and 40 nights, the rain finally stopped. The clouds began to part, and the sun peeked through, shining its warm light on the vast waters. It was still a long time before the water would go down, but this was the first sign of hope. Noah opened a small window in the ark and looked out. He saw nothing but water all around. He sent out a raven to see if it could find dry land. The raven flew back and forth, but found no place to rest. So, Noah waited a little longer. Next, Noah sent out a dove. The dove flew away, but it also came back, because it couldn't find any place to land. Noah waited patiently, knowing that God's timing was perfect. He trusted that the water would go down when it was the right time. Noah waited 7 more days, and then sent out the dove again. This time, the dove came back with a fresh olive leaf in its beak. Noah and his family were overjoyed. The olive leaf was a sign that the water was going down and that trees were starting to show above the water. Dry land was coming. Noah waited another 7 days, and sent the dove out one more time. This time, the dove did not return. It had found a place to stay. Noah knew it was almost time to leave the ark. The great flood was a big test of faith for Noah and his family. They stayed strong and trusted God through all the rain and waiting. God kept them safe and provided for them, showing that He takes care of those who trust in Him. This chapter of the story teaches us about patience and trust in God. Even when things seem difficult, we can trust that God has a plan and will take care of us, just as He did for Noah and the animals in the ark. Chapter 5: A New Beginning. After many months on the ark, the time had finally come for Noah, his family, and all the animals to leave and start a new life. The water had gone down, and the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Noah waited until God told him it was safe to leave the ark. One day, God spoke to Noah. "Noah," God said, "it is time. You, your family, and all the animals can come out of the ark now. Go and fill the earth again." Noah was so happy to hear this. He opened the big door of the ark, and sunlight streamed inside. Noah and his family stepped out onto dry land for the first time in over a year. They felt the warm sun on their faces and the fresh air around them. It was a beautiful new world, washed clean by the flood. The grass was green, and the trees were starting to grow again. Noah's family helped the animals leave the ark. They guided the elephants and the giraffes, the lions and the tigers, the birds and the insects. Each animal went out in pairs, just as they had come in. They spread out to find new homes and start new families. As the animals left the ark, they filled the earth with their sounds. Birds chirped and sang, lions roared, and cows mooed. It was a wonderful, noisy celebration of life. Noah and his family watched the animals go, feeling thankful and joyful. Noah wanted to thank God for keeping them safe. He built an altar and offered a special sacrifice to God. He and his family gathered around the altar, and they prayed. They thanked God for protecting them and asked Him to bless their new beginning. God was pleased with Noah's offering. Then, God made a special promise to Noah and to all the people and animals on the earth. God said, "Never again will I send a flood to destroy the earth. This is my promise to you and to all living creatures." To show His promise, God placed a beautiful rainbow in the sky. The rainbow was a sign of God's promise, a reminder that He would never flood the whole earth again. Noah and his family looked up at the rainbow with awe. It was the first rainbow they had ever seen, and it was breathtakingly beautiful. They knew it was a sign of God's love and faithfulness. From that day on, every time Noah and his family saw a rainbow, they remembered God's promise. They remembered how God had saved them and kept them safe through the flood. They remembered how important it is to trust and obey God, just as Noah did. Noah and his family started their new life. They planted seeds and grew crops. They raised animals and built homes. They worked hard to make the earth a beautiful place again. And they always remembered to thank God for His blessings and care. The story of Noah's Ark is a story of faith, obedience, and God's love. It teaches us that when we trust in God and follow His instructions, He will guide us through even the hardest times. It reminds us that God keeps His promises, and that His love is always with us. Conclusion. That's the story of Noah's Ark. God took care of Noah because he was good and listened. Remember to always listen and do what is right. Call to action. Download our audio stories and listen to them every day. This will help you understand and learn English through Bible stories. Kids and adults can learn together. Subscribe to our channel for more stories and lessons. See you next time.